If you use these 7 tips, I guarantee you will transform your dialogue and make your characters that much more compelling, your plot that much more interesting, and your book one of those ones that readers just can't put down. In this video, I will give you these 7 tips, plus tell you why you should implement them and how to implement them. That's what I wish I had when I first started out, and that's what I'm here to do with the channel. So let's get right into the 7 things and how you can use these to take your book to the next level. But first, don't forget to hit subscribe because we have lots more videos like this on the channel. Number 1, the dialogue should always move the plot forward. Every single word in your book should be moving the plot forward. Why? The attention span nowadays is like 8 seconds. You have to use every single word in your book to keep the reader hooked and keep them turning the pages. Otherwise, they will put your book down, walk away, and you'll lose them forever. So what do I mean by moving the plot forward? You can have characters talking about the plan for what to do next, exposing a secret, showing an insecurity, having an argument over how to handle things. There's a lot of things that can raise the stakes and increase the tension, which means things get worse for your main character. Because as long as things keep getting worse, the reader is still invested and the reader cares. The minute everything is all hunky-dory, the reader's like, okay, book is over, I'm going to put it down. You don't want that to happen 2/3 of the way through your book. Here's your writing exercise for how to do that. Take one of your existing scenes, bring in another character at the end of it, and I want you to have the 2 of them talking about 2 different ways of handling what happens next, and have them be in disagreement about it. It doesn't have to be an argument, they just have to have 2 different ideas for how to proceed. And that disagreement puts your main character in a bind. That's the whole goal about making the plot move forward, is increasing the tension and the stake. Number 2, your dialogue should always show the character. One of the biggest mistakes that I see from the new writers that I work with is that all the dialogue sounds exactly the same. You've got to really know your character. Like, are they from the South? How people in the South talk about soda, for instance, is different than how people in the North or even the Midwest talk about soda. Every little tiny element helps make it more real for the reader. The best thing to expose in there is their insecurities. So everybody has fears and worries and anxieties. You want to try to expose those in your character. How are you going to do that? Here's a writing exercise. I want you to write a paragraph or 2 from your main character's point of view that shows their background. Let's use some phrases or terms from where they come from, the culture that they had, how old they are. How a 55-year-old talks about social media is a lot different than how a 15-year-old does. Use those terms and slang in that character's point of view. And the most important thing I want you to make sure you get in there is one of their insecurities. If you're struggling with this, try putting them in a situation where they would be insecure. Maybe your character's afraid of heights. Put them at the top of a tall building and then write a paragraph or 2 in their point of view, looking at this really terrifying thing and how they interpret it based on their background, their age, their culture, their history, their prejudices, and their experiences and their personality. Number 3, dialogue always increases the conflict. It's there on the page for a reason, like I said. Conflict is all of the roadblocks in your character's way. And some of those are mental, some of those are physical. Sometimes it can be a character that wants an answer out of another character and that character refuses to give it. Sometimes it can just be that they're at war with themselves and they go back and forth about what they should do next. There's always conflict on the page. You should have some kind of inner or external conflict on every single page of your book. And dialogue is a great place to use that because you can show how the character is worried or how the character is frustrated by things not progressing. Here's your writing exercise for this. I want you to put 2 characters who want different things in the same scene. This is a great way to increase the conflict with your dialogue. Let's say it's a child who was adopted, going to his adoptive mother, wanting to know who his birth mother is. It seems like a pretty easy ask, right? But if the adoptive mother has a secret she's hiding about the birth mother, she will not want to give him that information. So the 2 of them will be in conflict in their conversation. Write something like that and see what comes out of it. Number 4, dialogue should always read naturally. When I write, I tend to speak my dialogue aloud as I'm writing it. And like I even do the voices and everything. I'm really dorky. But I want to make sure that it feels and reads natural and sounds natural. When people talk in real life, they pause, they trail off, they sometimes don't respond at all. They use contractions and all of that. You want it to read and feel natural. And if it reads and feels stilted to you, it's going to read and feel stilted to the reader. So my writing exercise for you for this one is to find a really strong, powerful section of dialogue in a book that you love, and then write something very similar with your own character, where there's things like interruptions where people cut each other off, where they trail off in the middle of a sentence and just don't say anything more, or they just abruptly end and turn away, or they just don't respond. So kind of try some of those dialogue tricks that are natural to the way that we speak to each other and use those in a scene of your own. Number 5, dialogue is not always words. We've all seen movies or read books where somebody isn't saying anything at all. There's a movie called Sisu that we watched. There's virtually no dialogue from the main character until the end of the movie. And it was amazing how much he could say without any words. So really study the books and the movies where a character is not speaking and look at how that impacts the conflict on the other side. If you have two characters who are in a conversation and one of them stops talking, that really increases the tension and the stakes on the other character's part because they're wanting to get an answer, come up with a solution, or get to the truth. And this other character is not responding at all. For your writing exercise for this one, I want you to write a scene where two characters are talking and one of them stops talking. You might want to have it be something that has really incredibly high stakes and see how that increases all of the conflict and the tension in your scene. Number 6, dialogue is always triggered. Always. People don't just randomly start talking. If they do, it's because they're nervous or anxious or they can't stand the silence. So there's a trigger for that, the silence or the situation that triggered them to start speaking. So there should be a reason on the page for every piece of dialogue that you have. And it's not just the scene triggering it. It should also be triggered for you as the author. So what reason do you have for putting this dialogue on the page? So for this writing exercise, I want you to have something that triggers the conversation between the two characters. Have a secret exposed, or they open a box or open a door and all of a sudden find something that they didn't know about before. And that triggers a conversation. Even if it's a conversation about the past, about their history, there again has to be a trigger for that. There has to be a reason that they're bringing that up. And number 7, and the most important one, is that dialogue always exposes some kind of truth. It could be the truth about who your character really is underneath it all. It could be the truth about the situation. It could be the truth about what the character is seeking. There's some kind of truth in every spoken word in your book. So I want you to take a scene and write it with two characters where one exposes some kind of a truth for the other, or a character lets something slip that shows who they really are. When you use dialogue this way, it makes your book 10 times more powerful, and it can really transform what the characters do, say, and how they act. If you implement these tips, you will see a massive change in your book. I guarantee it. And if you're looking for feedback on your current manuscript, I encourage you to sign up for our manuscript mastermind. The link is in my bio and also down below. Come to our writing sprints where you can meet some other writers, get some support and camaraderie, and also some encouragement to write. And then you can ask me questions in between each of the sprints. Be sure to hit subscribe. And if you already are, thank you so much for being a subscriber. My whole goal is to give you the tools you need and to help you write the book of your dreams. And with that, I will see you on the other side of the page.